You ever had a conversation with an AI and got the feeling it was, well, just making things up? Turns out you're not wrong. Today, we're going to dive into one of the weirdest and frankly most dangerous quirks of artificial intelligence, hallucinations. And trust me, they're a lot more than just a funny glitch. So, to really get a grip on just how high the stakes are, let's start right there with a simple question. What happens when the person defending you in court decides to get a little help from a chatbot? Well, for one lawyer, that exact scenario turned into an absolute nightmare. And it gives us the perfect real-world example of AI going completely off the rails. So here's the story. It's the case of Meta versus Avianca. An attorney at New York is putting together a legal brief for an injury claim. And like a lot of us these days, he turns to a new tool for some help, ChatGPT. He asks it to find legal precedents that would back up his client's case. And ChatGPT, it delivered. It spat out this whole list of relevant-sounding cases, complete with official-looking citations, really compelling quotes. The only problem? They were all fake. Every single one. The AI had literally invented an entire legal reality just to give the lawyer what he asked for. And that document? It was submitted to a federal judge. And this is what makes it so dangerous. As some librarians at Duke University pointed out, these AI-generated citations can sound incredibly legitimate, very scholarly, but they are completely disconnected from reality. They are not real. Okay, so this whole phenomenon, an AI just confidently making stuff up, it has a name, a hallucination. But what does that really mean in a technical sense? An AI hallucination is basically anytime a model generates information that's factually incorrect or just total nonsense. But the key part is this. It's not supported by the actual data it was trained on. So it's not just about getting a small detail wrong, it's about fabricating information out of thin air. Now, it's super important to understand that this is different from another big AI problem you hear about all the time, bias. AI bias is when a model takes unfair patterns from its training data and then amplifies them, which leads to skewed results. Hallucinations, on the other hand, aren't a reflection of bad data. They are a complete fabrication of new, false data. So why on earth would a super sophisticated piece of technology just invent things? Is it trying to lie to us? Well, not exactly. The answer is really in understanding what these large language models fundamentally are. And this really gets to the heart of it. An AI like ChatGPT is not a search engine, it's not a database of facts. At its core, it's a word predictor. Its entire job is to look at the words you give it and then predict the next most statistically likely word, and then the next, until it's built sentences that just sound plausible and human. So here's the crucial part. Its crime directive, its main goal, is to give you a response that makes you happy. And if it doesn't have the actual facts to do that, it's not programmed to just say, sorry, I don't know. Instead, it will use all those patterns of language it's learned to build an answer that looks right, even if that means inventing the facts to do it. Okay, so you might be thinking, all right, I get it. General-purpose chatbots like ChatGPT can mess up. But what about those expensive, super specialized AI tools built for really high-stakes fields? Surely they've solved this problem. And that's a totally reasonable assumption, right? I mean, if you're a company building an AI for lawyers or doctors, you know that accuracy is everything. You'd think they would build in all sorts of safeguards to stop these fabrications from happening. And that is exactly what these companies claim. Here's a quote from Thomson Reuters, a huge legal tech company. They say they avoid hallucinations by grounding their AI in their own trusted content to make sure the answers are grounded in good law. They're selling you reliability. But a recent Stanford study decided to put that promise to the test. And the results are pretty stunning. They found that Westlaw's AI hallucinated in a third of its responses, 1 out of every 3. Other tools, like Lexis Plus AI and another from Thomson Reuters, they did a bit better, but still made things up in 17% of queries. The study's conclusion was crystal clear. Even with all the marketing claims and the advanced techniques that are supposed to ground these models in fact, hallucination is still a persistent and pretty significant issue. It's a problem even in the most expensive professional-grade tools. This idea of a hallucination-free AI, it's a mirage. So yeah, this is obviously a huge problem for lawyers. But what does it mean for the rest of us? Because this issue goes way, way beyond the courtroom.
When you have an AI that can confidently and convincingly invent facts, the potential for harm just spreads into every corner of society, especially as we start plugging this technology into more and more critical systems. Just think about the major risks here. In politics, it could be used to generate and spread incredibly convincing misinformation on a massive scale. In medicine, a hallucination could lead to a totally catastrophic misdiagnosis. For something like a self-driving car, a misinterpretation of reality could be fatal. And in the world of finance, it could enable super sophisticated personalized fraud.
And look, this isn't some far-off theoretical problem. A recent audit by NewsGuard found that when they prompted leading AI chatbots with known false narratives, the bots repeated and amplified Russian disinformation nearly a third of the time, 32%.
So this leaves us with a really profound and, frankly, unsettling question. As AI gets more and more woven into the very fabric of how we work, how we learn, how we get our information, we're stepping into a world where fiction can be generated instantly at an unbelievable scale and with all the confidence of a proven fact. So how will we as a society ever learn to verify what's real?